Okay. So today I'll discuss about the three layout managers or geometry managers that are supported by the Kinter package. See, the purpose of geometry manager or layout manager in Python is, so whenever we want to create a graphical user interface, so in order to create the graphical user interface more attractive, so we want to place them in a specific format or in a specific order. So assume that this is the top level window. Okay. So with some three buttons will be there. Okay, minimize, maximize, and then some name. Now in this, say sometimes I want to organize a button then followed by label like this. In some other application, I want to organize the same at the bottom, or I want to organize button here then followed by a label. So now in different applications you want to organize the GUI widgets. So there are so many types of GUI widgets which we have already discussed. So some of them, so labels are there, your entry is there, and then your dialog box is there, your list box is there. So there are so many types of GUI widgets that are available. So using all of them, when you want to create an attractive GUI interface using which user is supposed to submit some details to your application, so how you want to organize them. So sometimes, so in your previous lab program, I think you might have seen, so you have created a calculator application. So here some text, some entry, and then so many buttons, you have arranged them in the form of a grid. So different applications, the demands of formatting these GUI widgets is different. So for organizing your GUI widgets in a proper fashion on a container, so container can be a window or it can be a frame. So for organizing them, three different types of organizing techniques are available in Python. So now the first one it's called as pack, second one it's called as grid, and the third one it's called as place. So these are the three geometry manager classes that are available in Kinter package. So these three classes, they allow us to format the GUI interface in a different way. So first, let us discuss about the first geometry manager package. So it's called as pack. So first of all, before actually we discuss about pack, so you need to know about this word parcel. So what is this parcel? See, every GUI widget will require a default space on the container. See, for example, if you take entry, what is this entry? So entry is an empty box, so using which user can enter one line of text. So whenever you are expecting one line of text as input from the user, so you can use this entry box. So now entry box width you can specify. Suppose if it is 10, so 10 characters will be displayed in the entry box. Now here, by default, it will be 10 always. So now what is the parcel here? So parcel is, so what is the minimum dimension or minimum space that this GUI widget is going to require? Say I want to add this entry box onto my window. So how much space I require? So how much breadth I require and how much height I require? So that calculation will be made by this parcel. So parcel method, it decides how much space is required by a widget in terms of breadth and in terms of height. So that space that is required by a widget to be placed on a GUI container is known as parcel. Okay. So now coming back to pack package. So in this pack, so what happens is, so Basically, this pack method can be used both uh, on a frame as well as window. So for formatting a frame and a window with the GUI widgets that we want to add to them, so you can use this pack method. So how it packs is, see, basically in the next slide, okay. Now the usage of this method is, so widget dot pack options. Say widget is, so whichever widget you are trying to add. So for example, you can add as we have discussed, you can add an entry, you can add a text box, or you can add a dialog box, or you can add a scroll bar, whatever you want, you can add. So pack options. So there are three options that can be given as input to your pack method. So now the first one is fill, second one is side, and the third one is expand. Now what is this fill? Say fill is, so by default it will be none. So if you don't give any parameter for this fill, it will be none. Otherwise you can give two parameters, X or Y. Now what is this fill? See, for example, suppose this is your window. You are trying to add one entry. So entry is, you are trying to take some input, some text as one line of text as input from the user. So maybe I want to accept the name of the user. So I have created an entry box. Now by default only 10 lines of 10 characters would be displayed. That is, the width of this entry would be, it will be able to accommodate 10 characters. Now that is none. If I say X, now that is horizontally it checks if any space is available. Now if you see, some space is available here horizontally. So automatically the parcel will calculate and will grab that extra space. If you say X, that is, the widget size will be increased in the horizontal direction. X is horizontal and Y is vertical. Now same thing, if this entire space is free, now this would be grabbed. So now generally see this parcel, because it's only entry is only one line. Suppose if I create a button, click me some button like this. So if there is space, now this button, it will try to grab the entire space horizontally as well as vertically. So now if you want to increase the size of a widget only in horizontal direction, you have to give fill. If you want to grow in vertical direction, you have to give Y. So this way of increasing the dimensions is possible by using the parameter for this fill. Now this side. Now there are four, see, by default the widget will be placed in the center. Now sometimes I don't want to place the widget in the center. I want to place it either in the left side or on the right side. So you can use left or right. So for example, if you create a button, by default it will be created here. Now I don't want to create here, I want to use left alignment. So if you use left, it will be created here. If you use right, it will be created on the right side. So these are the sides. So how you want your alignment to be, whether you want to place the widget starting from the leftmost column or rightmost column or in the center. So by default it's center, you need not specify anything. If you don't want to use center, and if you want to use left, something like that, you can use. And expand, see, expand almost all is similar to a fill also. So expand takes only two parameters, true or false. So if you say false, whatever dimension we specify for the widget, so widget will be allowed to use only that much space. Okay. Suppose if you specify the width as some 100 and height as some 50, so the widget will be created only with 150 size, and it will not be allowed to increase its size even though some free space is available. Whereas if you set this expand to false, false is it will not be allowed to increase. If it is set to true, expand if it is set to true, so it will be allowed to increase its dimension as per the fill. Okay, so fill already we have seen. If it is x, now even though you specify x or y, if this value is set to false, it will not be allowed to increase its size. Whereas if this is set to true, then only if you specify x, so if there is some horizontal space available, it will be allowed to expand. If you set it to y, if there is some vertical space available, it will be allowed to increase its height. So that way, so these three parameters are going to work. Now let us see an example which uses this pack. I'll show the output also in the, so you please copy this. I have copied a new PPT. So first we are creating a high level window. Okay, so just try to check the program. We are creating a high level window. After that, now this is how you have to create a frame. So in this window I am creating a frame. Now, so for this frame, what is the container? So container is win. What is this win? Win is the high level window, the top level window. So now what is this dimensions we are specifying for this frame? Width 100 and height 100. So a square frame with 100 pixels height and 100 pixels width would be created in the window. Now after this, we are setting the background of this frame width to orange. Okay, so we are setting the, now you see using this pack geometry manager, so I'm adding this frame to the window. So window is already created, frame1.pack. So here we are not specifying any parameters. So the three parameters which we have discussed earlier, we are not setting any parameter. So first adding an orange frame, adding blue frame. So we are adding a blue frame. So master is equal to win, width 50, height 50. So this width is 100, 100, this is 50, 50, and we are setting the background color to blue. Similarly, we are also creating another green frame. So whose size is 25, 25, and we are also adding this green frame to the top level window. So we are creating three frames and we are adding them to, we are not setting any values to the three parameters. So expand, fill, and the three parameters. So we are using the default parameters. Now if you see the output, so the output looks like this. Okay, so this is the top level window. So because we have not specified any parameters, so here what happens, that parcel method, okay, this parcel method would calculate the space required. So what is the first frame size? 100 by 100. So this is 100 and this is 100. So, and what is the default alignment that will be used? Top center. So that is the default alignment for pack. So pack always uses top center. So this is the first frame, orange frame. This is the second frame, blue frame, and this is the third frame, green frame. So this is 100 by 100, this is 50 by 50, and this is 25. Now because we have not set the fill and expand parameters, now if you see, even though some free space is available, they are not allowed to grab it. So they will not be allowed to expand their dimension. Now if you set the expand to true, automatically this space will be grabbed. So this frame will grab this space, this frame will grab this space. Now you can check for yourself. You try to expand is equal to true. That parameter you use in the pack. Okay. Now here in this pack you have to use expand is equal to true. So if you say expand is equal to true, now that particular, so what is the GUI widget we have created? Frame. So the frame will be allowed to increase its dimension. Okay. So here what is that we have to use? What are the three parameters? Just I'll come back. So fill, expand. Okay. Fill, expand. So frame one pack. So fill. So if you use this frame one pack, fill is equal to x, expand is equal to true. So here in this, if you add these two parameters, so what is that we are telling? So we are telling that this particular widget, that is frame, orange frame, can expand in x direction. So we have set it to true, so we are allowing it to expand in x direction. So if you use this here, now what is the output that you are going to see? Now orange, so earlier, now we have set the dimensions only 100, 100. But now because we are setting its expand status to true and fill to x, so this will be allowed to expand if there is some space in the horizontal direction. So this will be allowed to expand. So now when you rerun the program with that statement, so now this orange will come to the left side, it will occupy this space, this also will be grabbed by this GUI component. So if there is some free space and if you want your GUI component to use or expand to that space, so you have to use this. Which space it is allowed to use, whether horizontally or vertically, and this also you should set it to true. So if this is set it to false, so even though horizontal space is there or vertical space is there, it will not be allowed to. See, sometimes what happens is we want to have the same look and feel. We don't want to allow it to change its dimensions. So if that is the case, then you have to set that expand to false. So generally, top, center are the default alignments that will be used by the pack. So moving on, the next one is grid. So grid geometry manager is more easy to use when you compare with the pack or place managers. So what is this grid geometry manager? See, grid geometry manager allows us to align all the GUI components in rows and columns. So the first row is generally referred to as 0th row, and the first column is referred to as 0th column. Now the usage is like this: widget.grid. So previous geometry manager, it is pack. So same thing here, you have to use grid. Now what are the options that are available for grid geometry manager? You can see, so many options are available, so many parameters. Column, so how many columns you want to have, that you can specify. How many rows you want to have. So as I said, first column is referred to as 0 and first row is referred to as 0. So column span, what should be the size of each column? Okay. So for example, if you want to divide this usable space into 3 rows and 4 columns, okay. So this is row 0 and this is column 0. So row 1, row 2, column 1, column 2, column 3. So what should be the width of each column? So that is what we call it as column span. So this is row span. So what should be this? This is row span. What should be the width of each row? So column span, row span, pad x, pad y. So if you want to have some space between each row and each column, okay. Now while arranging the what we call as calculator buttons, so I don't want these buttons to be organized like this. I want to organize them like this, with some spaces. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is known as row pad. Okay, so pad x, sorry, this is known as pad y, and this is known as pad x. The spaces between the rows and columns is referred to as pad x pad. So between each row and between two rows, okay, if you want to have some space, so you can specify it by using pad y. And between two columns, if you want to have some space, you can set it by using pad x option. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options that are available. Now let us see an example. If you see, first we are creating a higher level window. So this example uses your grid layout manager or grid geometry manager. So what is that we are doing? So for I in range 5, so we are using two loops. This loop controls the rows and this loop controls the columns. Rows and columns. 5 rows and 3 columns. So we are creating, so how many total? 5 into 3, 15 frames would be created. So in each frame, so now we are specifying this, okay. Just you see, row I, column j, okay, and then label, we are creating a label. You see, when you want to create labels, uh, so this I and j values, it will get it from this loop. So it starts from 0 and goes up to 4, and here it starts from 0 and goes up to 2. So 0 to 4 and 0 to 2. So 0 to 4 rows, 0 to 2 columns. Now just see the output and then we will come back. Now if you see the output, now this is how the output will be organized. Now what is that we are creating? So we are creating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows and 3 columns. So we are creating 15 frames, and then we are adding them to the top level window. So this is one frame, this is another frame, this is another frame. Now if you want, you can also set different colors to these frames also. So, and we are displaying the row number and column number as labels. So row number 0 is one label, column 0 is one label. So next, so I value remains same, outer I row, column value increments, inner loop variable. So row 0, column 1, row 0, column 2. After that, so the outer loop value changes. So row value becomes 1 and column once again initialized to 0. So 1, 1, 1, so column 0, column 1, column 2. So like this, totally, so each row will have 3 columns. So now we are creating 15 subframes and then we are adding them to the outer window using the grid. So when you use grid, what happens is, so we have specified the grid as, we have created the grid with, so how many? 5 rows and 3 columns. So all these frames will be organized into 5 rows and 3 columns. I'll go back, you see the program now. So the border width also you can specify. So border width is this width. So 1 pixel. So if you want a thick border, you can change it to 2, 3. So 2 pixels border, 3 or 5 if you use. So it will appear like a thick line. Hmm. So the last type of geometry manager, it's called as place. So place, now generally rarely we use this. So it allows the programmer to decide their own geometry manager. So here it's, you can place the widget in the x and y coordinate. So this method basically organizes the widget in accordance with its x and y coordinates. Now generally what happens is, so when you want to precisely place the GUI widgets at a desired position, then you can use this place. Now for example, if this is your window, top level window, so this coordinate is referred to as 0, 0. Okay, top left usable space coordinate is referred to as 0, 0. Now I'll create a button and I want to precisely place the button at a particular coordinate. Say I want to place this at 100, 100 coordinate. So if you specify 100, 100, so from here, suppose if the width is 50 and height is 25, this widget will be placed starting at 100, 100 xy coordinate. So this is the width and this is the height. So generally, whenever you want to use this place geometry manager, you have to specify four parameters. One is xy coordinate, and then width, and then height. So these are the four parameters that you need to give. The same, so first one we have seen. So let's say similarly, in place of grid, here we have to use place geometry manager. So whatever widget you are trying to place, and then what is the name of the geometry manager? It is place, and then options. Now what are the options available? So options available are, first option is we'll specify only the starting coordinates x, y. If you specify x, y, then the default widget dimensions will be used for width and height. So here I told 4 dimensions are required. So the starting pixel coordinate, okay, width and height. If you don't specify height and width, so if you specify only x and y values, so every GUI widget will have default dimensions. So that default dimension will be used for the widget. Now, if you specify height and width, so the next freely available space will be used for placing the widget. Say already, if you have placed a widget here, so next free available space is this. Here a new widget will be added. If you don't specify the starting coordinate, xy coordinate, if you specify only height and width, so the next freely available space will be used. So this width will be used and this height will be, whatever width and height you specify, with that width and height, gadget will be created and will be added next to the previous widget that was added to the window or frame. Okay. Okay. So generally, okay, these are not required. Let us see one example. So this is an example which uses this place. Okay. Now first, what is that? We are creating a window. Now if you want to set the size for your window, you can use a predefined method called geometry. Now what is this 400, 250? So we are creating a window. Okay, let us call it as top. So what is the geometry? 400 by 250. So the width of this window is set to 400 and this is set to 250. So if you want to set the window size, you can use top dot geometry width into size inside the double quotes. Now you see what is that we are doing? We are creating a label. So with username. Now here what is the so straight away while creating itself you can call this. So here I have used a different style syntax. Otherwise, you can write it as, in the next line, you can write it as username dot place also you can write. That is also right. Username dot place, x is equal to 30, y is equal to 50. So that is the syntax we have used in the previous two example programs. Now, straight away, while creating the GUI object, you can call this geometry manager also, dot place, dot grid. So you can call any of the three geometry managers that are available. Next, email, another label, and now the coordinates that we are using 30, 50, 30, 90, and then password. So 30, 130. So same row we are using, but column we are changing. Now what are the, so here we are creating three text boxes. So single line text boxes which are known as entry. So entry, so place x is equal to 80. So ultimately what is that we are doing? We are creating three labels and three text boxes. Text boxes are entries are nothing but which are capable of accepting one line of text from the user. So just see the, I'll show the program, see the output and then we will come back. Now this is the output that you are going to see. Now the dimension of this window is set to 400 by 250, that is the size of the window. In that we are creating three labels and three, what is the entry? So what are they? They are known as, yes, single line of text. What is this GUI control called? Yes, entry. So three labels and three entries. Now if you see all the three labels, they are starting from the same. Now if you see, we'll just go back. Is it row or column? You see 30, 30, 30. So from the same row, but column we are changing. So it goes to the next column. Okay. So this is 50, 90, 30. Now here also same row 80, 80. So what is this? This is 95, 50, 90, 130. Now the effect, if you see, so because we have started these two at 80, now they are in alignment. Whereas this we have started at 95. Now this is the extra space. Just to show, if you use 80, this entry also starts from the same 88th column. Okay. So if you want to organize, so now if you see, E has username, E is not visible. Why? Because, so now the pixels you have specified has overlapped. Now in order to say, if I want to make this E visible, what is the change that I have to do in this program? You tell me. So what is the change that I have to do? Username. Yeah. X. X. Yeah. You have to make them as 85. Yes, right. So the number of pixels that are required to display one character would be approximately 4 or 5 depending on the character font size that you are specifying. Maybe if you change it to 85, even name also will, E character also will become visible.